Hello, everyone, and welcome. As you guys requested, I'm back with a tarot guidance for this period that all of us are in, both individually and collectively. These are very intense times, a very intense week, very intense month, a very intense season, and of course, a very intense year. So there is a lot of energies playing out simultaneously. They're very powerful, very karmic. So in a certain way, we are really pulled into several directions and we may feel a little bit powerless and confused. But within that powerlessness and also the state of not really knowing what is stable, what is even real, and what is not all that much, this actually leads us to a state of divine empowerment. Now, of course, psychologically speaking, what do I mean psychologically? Psychologically, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, philosophically, religiously, even in any way, shape, and form. It is a very difficult period, and it has a strong burden and hardship attached to it. One that, how should I say, I'm not saying it's not rooted in something physical and real, but this is where our soul feels the weight of all of this, in the sense that perhaps it's not the physical part that bears the soul weight in this particular period, but rather the energy of it, rather that which our lucid, rational, conscious mind cannot see. It's almost like it has a blindfold on it. However, our unconscious parts, they feel it. Exactly like, when certain insects, in specifically ants, I know that this is part of ants 100%. There are the male winged ants before a great storm or something that plays out in the weather, something big like a massive change. Few hours before, sometimes if it's that big, even a day before, they swarm everywhere. Those are the symbols of our unconscious. We feel it. So this is not an easy period. However, it leads us to that divine improvisation state where nothing makes true sense. We cannot rely on 100% on anything external, but that's when we find a certain type of strength, a certain type of knowledge and wisdom deep within our most instinctual self. Because our, how should I say, our most subtle components, especially the unconscious, that always plays a massive decisional role in our everyday lives. And of course, the way we see it mostly is that it's full of hindrance. The place of traumas, the place of hurts, the place of secrets, the place of everything that is within us, yet we don't know it yet. So, of course, it's a very, how should I say, controversial uh, part of the self to reside in and explore and work with. But that is not just powerful in the hindering and trouble causing sense, but it's also powerful in improvisation, creation, when we simply have to come up with something that doesn't exist and didn't exist before because of sheer need. When there is a need, and the need is not just mental or what we think, but the need is real, that's when the unconscious can really show its, on one hand, creational side, and also where it is chaos, right? But chaos doesn't behave the same way with everyone. if that can even make sense. Chaos usually tends to play out in a rather, and I'm really choosing my words, disruptive, even harmful way when it meets fears and a lot of tension and stress. However, chaos tends to play out in a much more creational, constructive, whimsical even way when it meets uh I don't want to say love, because that would be exaggerated. We usually don't live permanently in a state of love. So in this day and age, I don't think I can use that term. But innocence or playfulness or willing to go with the flow, if you know what I mean. Not fearing, not being necessarily brave and bold and, taunting chaos, but rather being, like a child, embracing the adventure, embracing the unknown. Because it may hurt us, but it very well may be fun. It very well may lead us to learning, etc., etc. So in this period, the only way we become good mates with chaos is within ourselves, within the inner chaos, the unconscious. This is how we learn to trust the invisible. However, in a rather practical way, the way this, uh, how should I say, schematic of energy plays out in actual reality, well, that as on the world collectively, I don't need to say a word because it's so obvious. But the very same energy is on our individual lives, just that it has to adapt to our circumstances and what we have running right now personally. Yet still a dichotomy or a certain kind of deep contemplation or brainstorming, a desire to figure something out, or maybe a surrender, but which is actual in a very known way, a surrender which we know it will lead us, it will wash us or push us into another, maybe not necessarily the best possible solutions or what we think we need, but it can very well push us into better or something we can work with or something that helps us in the now immediately. So there is a lot, this energy is also solution oriented. So long story short, all of us are feeling this, all of us um, do work, because I do believe this is the best possible term to use, because Saturn, with the Saturn and Jupiter square, a very important opening square, and this square is really, really, how should I say, impacting in our lives, in our journeys, better said, because this aligns us or forces to adapt or pushes us in any way to our own personal new paradigm that we started seeing, embracing, working with from December 2020, when Saturn and Jupiter, the same two planets, held their 20-year conjunction, 20 years, every year, 20-year cycle conjunction. So they really opened a new paradigm, but I'm not going to go into details. So this square is very important to determine what the best possible course and path for us individualized is. And the problem is, it has to be individualized. It has to serve us, who it is that we are today, and who it is that we're growing into. But in a certain way, Saturn in Pisces, it can't contradict um, not necessarily the past in the sense of what happened, but who it is that we grew up to be. our past journeys, our past struggles, our past success, whatever the past had. It's not meant to invalidate that. That is not rubbish. That is not trash that we quickly discard and we embrace the new. We integrate everything. Sorry, very, very sorry for this long introduction. Now, let us get to what guidance can we receive with this. And I choose this deck because I so love, on one hand, its name, Cosmosis. And I know that osmosis is a physical, how should I say, mechanism or something like that, where water is absorbed through a certain kind of tension between cells and stuff like that. So plants use this to absorb water and nutrients from the ground by their roots. So cosmosis, as in symbolically, this means to me where we are the plants and we absorb nutrients, which is wisdom and love and light and everything we need from the cosmos itself. And the heart, of course, is very important. The most important organ for that. And heart, Leo season. So we are basically asking for guidance on how to best navigate through this period. And of course, anything that the divine would like to share with us. Freedom, it's called, and this is the Knight of Wands, I think. It is the Knight of Wands. So here we have confrontation, which is the Five of Wands. We have prosperity reversed, which is the King of Pentacles. And we have the Hermit reversed. So these cards came out together, so I'm gonna keep them together. So that was the Hermit reverse. Now we have the Ten of Wands, which is called in this deck responsibility. And finally, the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Is this reversed? Yeah. So, first of all, let's look at the big picture because this is the situation. So, the Knight of Wands, which is called in this deck so very beautifully freedom. Well, freedom, I do believe, is the key theme in everything, both collectively and individually, that we are living in any way, shape, and form in our lives. Like you might say, oh, really? But what if a person who somehow has such a comfortable material situation and also free time where they are properly materially free to go where they please, to do what they please, to eat, smell, whatever what they please. But that absolutely, you might be absolutely true that physically maybe there's not a big deal for that person, but there can be inner freedom, creational freedom, freedom to do this, that which is totally not connected to the material realm. Many of us might be seeking freedom there. Other people in love relationships, other people in spirit, why not? Because, for example, if someone's 12th house is emphasized, when, how should I say, it's much more than simply you and your journey, your past, your spirituality. your connection, your personal connection to the spirit, those are included. Those must be part, you know what I, but there's also a side where through your experiences and through what you ultimately concoct, distill, refine, alchemize within your inner spiritual philosophical journeys, in a certain way, even the collective unconscious or the collective, let's say, realm of the 12th house, to make a bit more sense, will be affected by it, because we are just a small drop in an infinite ocean, right? Absolutely, but in quantum laws, that matters sometimes more than the whole ocean. And we are already living in a quantum universe, a quantum reality, sorry. So we are seeking freedom in one area or in one part of our lives, our existence. We are seeking freedom. Um, Now we have the Five of Wands. And this Five of Wands has clarifiers that just came out with them. Actually, sorry. These were reversed. Only the Five of Wands was upright. So the Five of Wands represents the, well, the struggle, really. And the Five of Wands is the energy of competition. And ironically speaking, it depicts the Olympic Games, but not from modern times, but rather from ancient Greek times, when the Olympic Games, the competition, the battle ultimately was not just to simply entertain the gods, but it had a very strong natural logic, because that's how we played out, nature's uh fight or flight, superiority, the natural cycles, where in nature, basically everyone in their own species unique way has to fight for superiority, or for social creatures, who is the leader or who does what. For others, this plays out in a different way, how to get females, or for us, the Olympic Games were just that, in a rather divine, symbolically divine expression, where it was a play, very Gemini like, right? And right now, Jupiter in Gemini, Mars in Gemini. So, of course, there is the energy of the Five of Wands here, because we are trying our best either to be defensive, not to give in to the stress, to whatever, or we need to fix, solve, deal with things, especially because we're also in Mercury retrograde period. Whatever life asks from us, we know, either in a very lucid way or through gut instinct, but we still know that we need to take care of the problem now, because it was raised for a very good reason. And then the Hermit reversed, and the King of Pentacle reversed. Well, it's hard, because the Hermit reversed. We are doing so much, we are focusing on so much, and we are really, really trying to do everything by being our most, how should I say, for some people, disciplined or pure or serious or determined, devoted version of ourselves. So we are really investing into this. But the Hermit reversed, the road is closed. either in the sense that we're blind to it, we're just on the ride and we're not the ones who are driving. Chances are no one's driving. Chances are it's one of those autopilot type of vehicles, so we have absolutely no control. Or it's where it's a stagnation that doesn't make sense, especially you would expect with Jupiter and Mars and Gemini to almost be overwhelmed by possibilities, options, things to choose from. But actually, this doesn't need to be the case for everyone. For some people, remember Saturn and Pisces is square, that's solitude, that's isolation, that's where, oh no, 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 the busyness is kept totally out. That's like a humming, buzzing background noise, but in our lives, nothing is moving. It can be that of a stagnation for some people, and where this stagnation is especially material or physical, where in thought, in spirit, in contemplation, in whatever, the Five of Wands, things are happening. You are figuring stuff out and you are preparing yourself. But it's just a matter, or Mercury retrograde dates, the timing, the this stuff that isn't really moving. And this feels burdensome, the Ten of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune reversed. A karmic period where we see karma play out in our lives from a certain way, in others' lives, in the world without a doubt. Yet, where is the movement? Where is the next? Where is the new? So I'm gonna use a non-tarot set for some clarifiers. Well, this depicts the situation where the woman is of course the symbol of our, how should I express this in a way that it can encompass every situation. Well, our creational energies, but our creational energies need to show up in a real way in our lives, if you know what I mean. And the mice, well, we feel that we are investing energy, and this is female. So that energy is not just brute time and effort, but soul, feeling. We're really, real. As I said, we are truly working for our freedom. We are freely signing up to do it, whatever that it is, being our most serious and dedicated selves. But the mice represent where a lot of the energy is wasted. It's not fruitful. It's not working. However, this is just an impression because this is the specific of the period where we will get to this. The road. Well, the road on one hand, for the present energies, it signifies that there is no clear path. We don't know what to do, where to go, which road to take on our journey. Everything is, the mice, where it's not very clear. It's a bit, I don't want to say dodgy, but it's not settled. It's not settled down. And chances are externally. It would not be a good idea for either to quit something because the road can end, to but neither to force yourself to make a step when you feel that you're not ready, and it doesn't matter why. It really doesn't. Even if you would say always, I'm just moody, and if you don't feel ready, it really doesn't, even if it's an illusion, even if it, I don't know, the same old misaligned belief and lack of self-trust, the cause doesn't matter. What you feel is what matters, because you feel it for a reason. If you don't feel ready, you're not ready, and that's it. So the anchor, it's almost like you're rooted, grounded in, how should I say, being a traveler who has no home, who has no stability. And they understand this in the big picture, like your journey. You're going and going and going and going, like migrating, but there's nowhere to, put your anchor into, to anchor yourself into. You haven't, and this describes a state, not necessarily something specific. The big picture of your journey until this present moment, you are seeking this stability because you are had enough in a way being on the road symbolically. So this is how we may feel. Now guidance exactly with this. So what advice or good word can spirit give us? We have 8 of Pentacles reverse, dedication, and 6 of Swords reverse, transition. We have 5 of Cups. And then finally, the Ace of Wands, and I'm not gonna keep these 2 clarifying cards because they are really just courtship cards and they don't. So for the last, we have the Magician, then we have the Queen of, or is this the Prince? The Page, sorry. I do believe that this is the Princess of Coins, Pentacles, which is named skill here, and adaptability, which is the 2 of Pentacles. So these are in one group. Before I get before I get to deciphering the message, I just want to clarify that Ace of Wands a bit more. So the Star reversed. I think I am understanding the message. So 6 of Swords reversed and 8 of Pentacles reversed. This represents the blockage. This represents where you would work, as in you would change your methods, upgrade your whatever it takes. You would adapt to a different methodology, different work, whatever that means to you, in order to get where you need to be. And this in any apply to your own area of life. For example, in matters of love and romance, for example, you're single, and you would, in that sense, you would be ready to really look for love differently that you have done so until this present. You would be willing to try newer approaches. You get what I mean. So this is applicable in any situation. However, nothing makes sense. Nothing resonates. Everything that you come across externally, especially, you well know either rationally or through the God's knowledge, the God's wisdom, that nothing would get you where you need to be. Nothing would actually work. Neither can you muster up uh, your own ingenuity, as in the sense that you don't see yourself adapting. Because it's like a strange blockage. But then we have the Five of Cups, sorry. And the Ace of Swords, reverse. You're, as in the the Five of Cups. Emotionally, you really don't know what you should supposed to be doing, feeling, how you're supposed to be reacting. Why? Because the Ten of Swords, you are in a state of surrender. You know your goals, and you know that those goals are not some ego goals, but things that are necessary in everyone's life and exist. It is a natural part of a journey that you are on. So those are not something that come from the self necessarily. Yet, where is the progress? You know what I mean? Where is, because the Ten of Swords represent a big ending. It can represent the closure. And the Ace of Swords would be number one, so the beginning. But somehow you're lost between the two. And this is where things are simply not promising any progress right now. But in an area of life, so with something that is very important to you. Um, so you don't really know what else to do other than the Five of Cups. The disappointment here is not necessarily that really toxic self-victimization kind of disappointment, just that you don't know what the waters inside of you cannot flow because you really don't know. So all you can do is be in a state of surrender and allowing the divine intelligence, the Ace of Swords reversed, to lead you somewhere because your own can't figure it out. And in a certain way, you know that it's supposed to be this way. You know that you were definitely not supposed to figure it out. So this is where it's a big question mark. Ten of Wands. And I would like another one. Okay, we'll keep these. So one is Seven of Swords and the other one is Knight of Swords. So this means that the will and the Ace of Wands, the will inside of you is not just ready, but it was made ready. As in, it was almost like inner forces or the divine prepared you one way or another, through people, through friends, through family, through dreams, through states, through whatever it is that worked for you. It excited you, it readied you for a big move, and you still feel that readiness. However, reality doesn't show anything. And this is where you're really living the star reverse on blind hope. But, the Ten of Swords sorry, the Ten of Wands, what I wanted to say. So the Ten of Wands, this one. Uh, again, Ace of Wands, the beginning, Ten of Wands, the end. You have the willpower, you have the readiness, you have exactly as the card says, the responsibility. The Ten of Wands, for a period, you are totally ready to carry the burden, to break even your back if it needs to, for the future, for your hope, for getting where you need to be. But there isn't a progress yet. So the guidance here is that it's absolutely okay for the mind to not understand. Why this? You see the magician with skill as in a page of coins and two of coins reversed. So the two of coins is someone's balance. But regardless of how we look at the balance, one part is the material, one part is the physical, the earthly. The other can be either earthly or it can be anything else. And especially when it's reversed, um, the universe or the divine or your own being, your own spirit, is keeping you in this state because this is almost like, let me explain to you with a bit of cosmology. The Earth's magnetic sphere is due to the fact that the core of the Earth spins separately from the rest of the planet as it spins because it's in a sea of magma, right? Liquid matter. So that friction and that spinning generates an electromagnetic field that is very, very powerful, and we owe our existence and life to it as well. But it's invisible. So this is where it inside of you, the right frequency, the right magnetism, the right state is being created because that is what alignment actually means. For you to be in the right frequency, which means both the right mindset, both the right emotional state, except you get what I mean. And because of that, you specifically uh, get there when your mind is not curious, when your mind is totally distracted. So this is why all the distractions, all the procrastination, all the I can't figure it out, and the more you feel this, the universe adds to this. It makes it that much more amplified. If you're confused and you complain that you're confused, the next day you're going to be 10 times more confused. It is simply distracting your mental sphere. It is, you're not supposed to see, you're not supposed to know, you're simply supposed to, on one hand, be blind, be in the right measure desperate, the Ten of Wands, desperate in the sense that, well, whatever it takes, I'm gonna do it. If it's, I don't know, a hard work, if it's a sacrifice, if it's, I am ready to do it. Just for things to move on because I need this. The balance between the inner and outer, the balance between the mind and the earthly to finally match and make sense. So this is what the magician is telling you. Sometimes true mastery comes when the mind is not in the equation, when the mind is innocent. Why? The mind's role is after you attract something. When I say attract, it's not the law of attraction and stuff like that. Not in that sense, but in the sense of whatever next step has to somehow enter into your life. If a virgin mind, if a distracted mind, if a satisfied mind, because when the mind is distracted, it is having fun, and that usually satisfies the mind and makes it productive and the right frequency. That's what's you're getting there. And when that relaxed mind meets an opportunity or the next step or the next choice, on one hand, it won't criticize it. And on the other hand, it won't involve the Five of Cups. Well, I had different expectations, or how does this make me feel? No, it will simply work with it immediately. See the good side of it, use it constructively, come up with ideas, potentials, and that's what you need. So, this is why, in a certain way, your mind is being shut out from this equation. And this might be uncomfortable because maybe in your life, the Jupiter Saturn square comes through as Saturn being the, how should I express this? Not necessarily the cruel uh, teacher, but rather the very, very wise teacher who, not through cruelty, but his own tricks of the trade of teaching, make sure that the student is, on one hand, distracted enough, but that part of the student which really matters concentrated enough on the matter. So maybe Saturn is shutting Jupiter's tendency in Gemini to hair split out. So it can only either question everything or play, as in be distracted. But in either way, it is kept in, how should I say, a cage, but the safety kind of cage, as in where you would definitely put in a cage a wounded pet who is not very happy, out of total love, of course. So actually, this is returning you to a primal state where your mind cannot sabotage anything. Neither can it. Sometimes your mind is so powerful that it makes a process that should last a week into an hour. And that's another big no-no. It makes you superior. It makes you a star. Let me give you an example. You got a new job. So you need to, of course, introduce yourself and etc., etc. But you're a very strong extrovert. And you have very strong Gemini, Libra, whatever negotiation energy. You won't give it a time in a week for people to come approach you in their own timing. You get it done in an hour. It did the job. However, maybe you missed out on certain moments which would make this that much more beautiful, or, reasons. So this is why sometimes strong proficiency and extremely strong intelligence is not, how should I, needed, or better said, it's better if not had, for the right kind of balance. So, the mind is a tool. When it's not needed, then it's not needed. You know what I mean? That we must allow it to switch off. But because of the specifics of the period, that the period goes against that. The period is the total opposite, when the mind should be hyperactive, anxious, full of whatever. So this is a massive divine help in your case, because it is pushing your mind out. No matter how strong it would like to overthink, it doesn't allow it. So it's preparing you. So the divine guidance here is allow. Allow and change your perspective. Change your perspective into, how should I say? If this would be a game of tactics like chess or poker or whatever, where you are a player, then you know that this silence means something. And if this silence is due to use it in the my specific example of poker or any other game, luck, maybe even luck is very, very silent, that means she's preparing a massive move. So, but replace luck with, you know, your chess, you know your opponent, and you know when he's silent that you know that something is coming. So when life really doesn't give you any solutions or options in a realistic way, then the only rational and good choice that you can do is to use your time or whatever the stagnation offers you in a more positive, productive, and 10 of wands, not burdensome way necessarily, if you possibly can. So this is the side. Ah. So this is just clarifier. Okay. So the side, the clouds, the clover, and the fox. So this confirms the message. So the site, of course, is termination or harvest, or when, you know, you work with something in a measured way. For you cut something to a certain measure, but anyway, even in non-tarot, you know, this is like Pluto, the site, either ending or transfer. But clouds. So end the clouds, right? Because the clouds is the symbol of scattered thoughts, overthinking. When we're really not getting anywhere with our thought processes or our mental efforts to figure stuff out, we're just getting really nowhere. We're staying in the clouds. So we have to end this. Because, you know, the clover is the symbol of, well, on one hand, good fortune, Jupiter, right? But I do believe that in our case, it means where we are happy with the outcome. So progressing, getting where we need to be and being happy. As long as we stay in the clouds, the fox, we're compromising uh, our outcome. We're just dissecting with our, we're using the mind as a tool to rather demolish our construction rather than to raise it. So, as a guidance, this combination really tells us not to live in the head, not to live in thoughts, not to live in the mind. That which we cannot understand, that which we simply cannot figure out, we have to just leave it. And of course, the fox, strong mental dissection energy, you know, analyzing everything. Well, ultimately, that leads to expectations, and expectations lead to Five of Cups. So there's that side as well. Live it from the heart, because this is like a pivotal moment for humanity. You know what I mean? We are those people, those souls, those individuals who are living through a massive change of times. Unfortunately, in recorded history, most massive times are, how should I say, depicted as some big, unimaginable calamity, catastrophe, war, and ironically, all those are displaying as. But change of times also involve when life feels mythic, epic, legendary, either both in a good way and in a bad way as well, because you can't polarize this. We are living those times when everything is changing, when a world is being demolished before our very eyes and a new one is building itself up. So our ancestors or older generations, this is how they adapted as well. This is how they coped as well. And I'm not saying that with the power of love, because this card represents the matters of the heart. Unfortunately, for example, my parents' generation, the way they could cope is to shut down the heart, close the heart. You couldn't trust anyone. So, you know what I mean? But that's also an adaptation. Our generation, of course, or we are invited to live from the heart, not to, what our parents close, we to open it. But for this period, live it through the heart. Because if you're not scared genuinely from something based on the heart, if you're just consulting the heart, then don't let the mind come and scare you unnecessarily. If deep within your heart you're not worried, or you feel, you know that the turmoil will have a great meaning very soon or at a certain, then that is much more worthy of trust than where the mind wants to scare you. There is a promise, either it was something you made to yourself or a pact with the divine, that the sun's gonna rise in your life, and it's gonna rise. Maybe not this year, or maybe not right now, but this should be your core truth. This should be the very core of your faith, as just a small human being, as just the small sun ego that you are, that there is a promise, an active pact running in your life that will not leave you stranded, and the sun will shine in your life without a doubt. And in times when everything is so dark and you don't know what to do, that should be the guiding truth, that because you saw that play out in your life more than once. You saw that and you felt that change your life in the past in almost miraculous ways. So it will happen again. So this is also a non-tarot deck. So the energies of Mercury and Jupiter, have faith, But Mercury comes to this equation where healthy faith has to question itself and, has to make at least sense to you. It cannot be totally blind and fantasistic. And Jupiter, but we can neither ignore that which we cannot fathom and understand. The most elevated part of the faith, the two have to, just like these two men, be in a good relationship with each other, even if they debate. Jupiter and the energies of Jupiter and Taurus, where the card depicts this as money rains from the sky. Well, the money is the clover or the star card here. So don't understand it as material resource, but rather what you need for your well-being, regardless of what that is, the energy of it. You need to pump up the belief, because when people believe that enough, even men are rain from the sky. So pump up your belief, but that belief which is based on truth and also self-worth. And when I say self-worth, not just the I'm worth it and I'm so beautiful. Self-worth is not just that. Self-worth is, well, actually, I'm pretty ugly in this and that, or this and that situation makes me very ugly, but I accept that part of myself, and I accept it in a harmonious way where I need to contain it, where I need to not let it run rampage and not pollute the lives of others. However, neither do I condemn myself when life gives me no choice but to bring that out. You know what I mean? So accepting our ugliness where we are ugly, our faults, our clumsiness, or where we are not very pure, that and doing something, not accepting it freely, but accepting it in the measure that it's part of our being story. So self-knowledge, right? Aries, Pisces, beginning and the end. Um, Putting to rest certain fights, aspiration, wars, but in a personal perspective, which really deem themselves either to be outdated, no longer part of who we are, or those were the caterpillars, big fights and battles. But right now, we're no longer a caterpillar, we have wings. However, the caterpillar's epic battles, fights, and goals, the warrior, are epic, legendary, and they must be valued as such. But we cannot expect ourselves to play them out again. Or maybe those victories and defeats of the caterpillar mean nothing for the winged insect that we are right now, because we are different. We value that journey, but how should I say? The lessons and what we need to do are not the same in the present and as they were. So let certain things just rest. Be washed away by Neptune. May that be an old dream, an old part of an identity, an old whatever. So, yeah. And finally, and this is just, I want it, so I'm actually requesting it, just one card as a potential outcome or resolution, or where things are leading us after the guidance and advice, of course. So please, one card if possible, and we'll clarify that if needed. Okay, two. I'm not gonna accept it. I really need just one card. Yeah. Two. So no. Okay, I can take this because not just that it's just one card, but it's the card of cards. Well, okay, I'll clarify this. I understand why it wanted to come out in pairs, because so reversed, Empress reversed, and Judgment reversed. Okay, first I'll just get to the High Priest. Well, in a very practical way, this can represent that a solution. Sorry, the solution to what you're waiting for, or the next step, or whatever, is going to be either an agreement or contract, or where something that you can really, really accept and work with and hold down long term, that enters your life, or you enter its life, let's say. But this can be a partnership, for example. But if it's a partnership, for example, like a love story, or the high priest tells us that it's actually not the love. The Okay, this was not worded correctly. It was not the romantic love, the passions and sexuality, and that will matter whatsoever. And maybe you're not expecting this part. On why? Because on one hand, you're almost fanatically independent type of person, and you would not care about many things in a relationship other than the purity and the this and that. And by no means do you want way too much support, and you know what I mean, the independence. But actually, it's gonna be the commitment, the contract that will matter much more than the romantic part, because that it is there where this person, if it's romance for you personally, of course not for everyone, will be the most pure and most dignified, and who will really, really, really sweep you off your feet, but not with what you expect. But this can be a job, or something where there's an agreement. But at the same time, this can simply say where it is that you invested your beliefs and fought nail and claw to fang and claw to embody it, that's what you're gonna get. But this period may judgment reverse. Well, change, or better said, align your deepest truth based on your perceptions. Long story short, your worldview. Because this is what the judgment, on one hand, of course, it says karma. It is karmic. It is, but karma will depend on your worldview and your own judgment about your situation. Just that the judgment doesn't come from the mind or ego, it has to come deep from the soul and the unconscious. Always, it is your unconscious that judges you. That's why, for some people, they speak to themselves in the mirror how beautiful, loved you are, and they simply wonder why that doesn't have any effect, where they do it like textbook. It works for their neighbor in such a way where they're, how is the, are they discriminant? No. If it's only your mind, and if it's only the ego heart that you convince, that's not gonna do anything. It's the deepest part of yourself that you need to convince when you do positive self-talk. That's why it works for some people like a charm, and for others, simply nothing happens. The unconscious will not believe. fairy tales. It needs to be really felt, more than just on the human plane for that to take effect. You know what I mean? So this is the judgment. To realign that part of your being, your unconscious's view or perception about the situation, that needed time. Hence this time now. And the Empress reversed. To realign value. Because sometimes extreme purity can defeat the goal, can defeat the objective. So, a very powerful alignment of values. And this is why in the past 5 years, it was like a juggle. It was almost like the universe through events, shattering your self-worth, then building it back up, then shattering, then building it, then and you might, is this insanity? Is this madness? What's going? Well, the shattering and build up was just to align, because that's how you align. You know, when you have a manual, not a digital scale, and you have to align it to the zero, reset it. Well, that will not work in one go. You sometimes you need a lot of back and forth to get to the ideal. So this is why you need to get to the most honest self-worth of yours. You know what I mean? Because neither is your judgment shattering it. And the other thing is you're discriminating. But it is the self that you're discriminating. And that's not good. This is where, why shouldn't you be in a better relationship with the divine, with the cosmos, or with the invisible parts of the world than a certain category or a good number of people when, how should I say, you come with a much greater level of devotion than others. You know what I mean? So allow the universe to discriminate you. The way you allow to, the way you balance it, that is that you discriminate yourself back to normal. But if the universe wants to discriminate you positively, to give you special treatment, allow it. You must allow it. Because don't dissect it, don't judge it. If the universe wants to discriminate you, let it discriminate you. Some of you might see it as the darkness. Maybe it's not the darkness. Maybe you did, you delighted the universe in a certain way where it's not darkness that is leading you into temptation. It actually wants you to whatever, put in your own specific so the stork. Okay, so for some of you guys, especially who are males, she is definitely gonna come. But this is not really about you, neither about just her. Where her is that lady who you feel is gonna be part of your life, who you suffered solitude for many years, but she hasn't turned up yet. She needs to learn how to appreciate you before she has you. And you need to learn how to, how should I express this in the best way? Keep her motivated to bring out her very, very best self before you can have her. So both of you are learning. For other people, for whom this is not the case, the stork means this, as in whatever needs to manifest and whatever you had faith in. But you need to first learn how to take care of that before it gets into your hands. Why? Like, let me give you an example. Let's say that a doctor bought a 100,000, many 100,000 euro price equipment. Well, you can imagine that before the doctor starts even receiving the equipment, he will go to a course where someone really trains him. And then he will get the equipment, regardless of the money and the material situation. He has the money, he gave it, it's on its way. But the first step for the doctor is really to take the course and to. This is exactly your case. You were trained, but in a way, no human being, no course, no book, no ancient wisdom could train you. Because we are living times that are unique, that are newest of the new. All of us are trained by the divine forces, because no human being can train us. No astrologer, no guru, no one. No one, really no one. Only us through the quantum manifestation of the divine. So the universe is training us, through our inner being. So this is what's happening, and this is the outcome. Whenever the training course is finished, but when it's finished, it's judged by the feminine side of you. As in, us boys like to very quickly get into the hardship and really burn it out, and then very quickly get back to our natural plans and courses of being. The feminine side does not hurry. The feminine side sits on it and makes sure that everything is ready in a real sense. The feminine side always adds the finishing touches, the decoration, the niceness. So, well, I do believe this is what I have. Oh, no. We need from this deck a card, at least from this deck as well, the potential outcome. The energy of Pisces and Aquarius. Well, something new that is basically just a fantasy right now. Well, again, the same type of. If that's what we fought for, well, no, North Node in the sign of Aries, so Aries, Pisces, and Libra. What does this mean? We were attracted by situations. Some of them were total illusions and traps to teach us how to be, but other ones were the true siren's call. We're following our subtle instincts and perceptions really guided us where we needed to be. So these cards say that all we can do is fasten our seatbelts and enjoy the ride, as bumpy as it may be, because we're way too in this journey to bail out now. It doesn't really matter. If it's a siren's call, where you will meet the siren, or if it's a Fata Morgana, just an illusion, it's a divine mechanism at play. It will still get us soaring where we need to be. So we must trust the process. So thank you everyone for listening, and I really hope this was helpful. And until next time, bye for now.